Hey, Howlers. Welcome to the Two Dogs Hung Under One Moon podcast. I'm your favorite host, Brutus, and that's Cletus the Fetus. We're a production of the Two Dogs Hung Under One Moon studios, working in collaboration with Alarm Red Media. Take two wasn't too bad.
Yeah, but you still fucked up because you said
better.
you're working
I'm
in collaboration with Two Dogs Howling Under One Moon, working in collaboration with Alarm Red Media.
It's better, and we're just gonna go with it.
We're gonna go with it. Today's
I'm not
that
recording
kind of
again.
Yeah, today's that kind of day.
So we're just gonna go for it.
Yep, we're gonna go for it.
So this is all just gonna stay in right here.
Yep.
Sweet. So yeah, I'm Cletus the Fetus, and we're finally joined by the ever so mysterious, not to be confused with the WWE star, the techie manager. Also, for some reason, he seems to be very mysterious and never here, so he's not Rey Mysterio.
Mysterio? Who's that?
Do you even have a childhood, or?
I watch Scooby-Doo.
I mean, I watched Scooby-Doo too.
And Flintstones.
Great.
I wasn't allowed to watch WWE, but I even know who Mysterio is. Come on, man.
Nope. Didn't watch wrestling.
You don't even have to. He's a pulp culture reference.
It's like saying you don't
know who
Hulk
John
Hogan
Cena is?
Yeah, that lame asshole.
You know, he probably could beat your ass.
There's a lot of people who could beat my ass. I'm not denying that whatsoever.
I mean, most Marines are pretty lame.
Yep. We're rolling right into it today, aren't we?
Well, this is what happens when you don't
moving on before someone finds out where
the intro twice.
This is what happens when I didn't have cheese yesterday. Anything with cheese in it yesterday. Actually, I take that back.
You did. You had loaded garlic mashed potatoes for lunch.
Yeah.
Double. 2 of them.
I know. And then I was thinking about it. I put shredded cheese in my noodles Alfredo sauce stuff I did. Today's been a long day, if anybody can't tell. So today's been a long day for myself. So if you look back to whenever this episode airs, we're recording on the 24th. Look at the photo, and my photos will tell you, at our Instagram will tell you everything you need to know. Everything you need to know. Everything you need to know.
You know what everyone needs to know? That we appreciate all our listeners outside the United States.
Yes.
They need to know that.
And we appreciate in the United States.
And in the United States.
I was getting there. You know what?
No, you weren't. Don't lie. You didn't do it last week.
No, last week we had to introduce the newest.
We had to introduce the newest one.
You didn't do it the week before either.
Yes, we did.
We did it in a roundabout way. Because the list is starting to get too long to go through each individual, say something about each individual country.
I mean, fair.
So.
Fine. Moving on.
So, before we get to your favorite segment of the day,
I got to get ready.
We had 20 minutes to get ready.
We actually have had an hour.
Okay, exactly. I want to coin the term, or phraseology, or theory, whatever the fuck you want to call it, the Luke Combs effect.
The Luke Combs effect, yes.
That you can, and like, I'm not trying to shit on Luke Combs at all. I love Luke Combs. Love his music. Plan on going to, when COVID's over, going to go see one of his shows. Because, like, he's that good. Like it's not I'm shitting on him. I'm just saying, like, I have a theory that you have to be, you can have any woman in the world that you want and fall in love and be extremely happy as long as you can sing really well or you're really fucking funny. And I can't sing for shit, so I'm going to try for the funny.
Keyword is try in that statement.
I mean, I did shave. I did shave as part of my creative process this past weekend.
Yeah, Mrs. Fetus is not happy about it.
Well, I'm funnier when I go clean shaven.
It is true.
I know I'm funnier
Can't
looking. What was that, Techie?
Can't relate.
Mm.
All right. Oh yeah, I know I'm funnier looking, but it had to come off for some
Spiritual guidance through the endeavors that caused me to have this existential crisis, to gather my thoughts into cohesive terms of art.
art's a very fine way
That
of
what
putting
we're
it, but
calling
yes. I all right, because I know you're eager to get to this. So let's get to your favorite segment.
Welcome to the Two Dogs Howling Under One Moon News, which is the first segment of every episode, brought to you by TA Minor and Associates. Security is evolving. Are you? Today on the news, brought to you by TA Minor and Associates. Security is evolving. Are you? Wait for the drop, and there we go. So today in the news, that's not Frosted Flakes. That's the title of today's article. Today we are talking about on February 13th, Customs and Border Patrol officers in Cincinnati intercepted a smuggled narcotics shipment of cereal originating in South America. The shipment contained about 44 pounds of cocaine-coated cornflakes, and which could have had a street value of up to $2.8 million. The CBP narcotic detector guard, Pico, was working incoming freight from Peru when he alerted to a large shipment of cereal heading to a private residence in Hong Kong. When officers opened the box, took a closer look, the cereal contained white powder, but the flakes are coated in this grayish substance, and officers tested the flakes for the powder and found that it contained cocaine. According to director Richard Gillespie, the men and women of the Port of Cincinnati are commended with the stopping of the dangerous drugs, and they continue to use their training, intuition, and skills to prevent these kinds of illegitimate shipments from reaching the public. CBP conducts operations in every port of entry in the United States and rarely screens. Last year, in fiscal year 2020, CBP seized 3,677 pounds of drugs going into ports. And this has been the Two Dogs Howling Under One Moon News, brought to you by the TA Minor and Associates. Security is evolving. Are you? And now, a word from our sponsors.
Hey, Howlers, it's Brutus. I'm here to tell you about our amazing friends over at Anchor. They are the reason why we are making the audio portion of the podcast is so easily done for you. It handles everything.
Literally everything.
And they have amazing creative tools. We're talking like, you guys know, I'm not the brightest cookie in the bunch. I can't figure out the computer for any aspect of it. They make it so easy, I can do it.
So easy.
I love using Anchor. They are literally my best friend when we are producing and clipping things together, making the best podcast that we can try and produce for you guys. So yeah, we're here checking that out. So Cletus, I think you have something else you want to tell them.
Well, just want you guys to know that they self-distribute it as well to every major podcast platform, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. But the big thing that everyone at home needs to know is that they need to download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm and hop on there, get started. You guys can also check out our page on there as well. So go to anchor.fm or download the app and get started today making your fantastic podcast.
I had one real quick. I had a joke for that because popped into my head. The best
Okay.
part of waking up is cocaine in your cup.
I was gonna. That's good. I was also gonna say that makes me re-question the whole scene in Talladega Nights, where he throws the bucket of water on Will Ferrell, the Ricky Bobby, and he goes, "There's a kilo of Colombian Bam Bam taped under the car. What are you gonna do, son? Boys in blue are on the way, or whatever."
I
I know I totally screwed that quote up,
You
but
did.
that's my favorite line is the pound of
Bam Bam.
Colombian Bam Bam.
Yeah.
And the boys in the blue are on the way.
You know, the best part of waking up is cocaine and cocaine accessories.
All right, we better stop. Let's get in today's
We are so demonetized.
get in today's.
That's not going on YouTube. We're gonna just cut that.
Oh, it is.
No, it's going. Just not monetized.
Folgers.
Anyway,
Hashtag not sponsored.
uh,
You can figure out which
Yeah.
part I'm talking about. We're not sponsored.
so let's get into today's real shenanigans.
We haven't started our real shenanigans yet.
Well, I mean, it's always a shenanigan shit show, but
Well, I think there's only one way to do this. Well, I believe it is time.
is it time?
It is time for us to bring in someone very special, very important, and ever so amazing. Please, everyone, give a round of applause for our guest, Eric N2KOJ. We're going to be talking about some amazing, fantastical things happening as Techie figures out technically how to do this, and we're figured out.
Becky's had a rough
technically we figured it out.
or a couple weeks, so he's out of practice, everybody.
But you know, it's great to be joined by Eric today in the Two Dogs Howling on Home Studios, virtually via the Two Dogs Howling Under One Moon Studio Satellite Network. I'm working on
Don't
it.
forget, live from my bed, where I'm always at.
Live from his bed in a nondescript building, we are joined today by the man, the myth, the slightly burned thing that we're not going to talk about, Eric N2KOJ.
Budinger. He's been the one.
Budinger.
He's
Yes,
the-
I know. Or the situation. Yes, I understand this.
I was gonna say he's been. You guys heard us talking about his shirt. He's here. He's here.
It's me.
He's gonna talk to us about the wonderful things he does with ham radio, which he's clarified with me multiple times that it's not like the ham you put on your table. I don't know.
Sure. Correct. It's very correct.
So
People think, but it's not.
You're strongly mistaken. No,
so I'm slightly disappointed because it's not real ham.
you're
But
mistaken.
real ham is good.
Yes, real ham is good.
Especially with the cheese.
Yes, cheese and potatoes.
We do breakfasts. We call it ham, eggs, and cheese. So you got a whole bunch of ham sitting around a diner. Most of them are over the age of 60. I'm always the youngest one there, and yeah, it's so fun we have. I appreciate you guys bringing me in tonight. It's and before we do get started, I really want to thank everybody that has helped get me out of this godforsaken state in about 2 weeks to sunny, beautiful Hawaii,
It's gonna be
where
awesome.
I've cleared my phone. I'm clearing everything. I'm bringing extra SD cards. There's going to be more ridiculous pictures and shenanigans. Did somebody say shenanigans? Next person that says shenanigans is going to get pistol whipped.
All right.
That's one of my favorite movies. And yes, you did totally jack up the line from Talladega Nights. You have to go in your room and watch Talladega Nights
I
on
know.
repeat for the next 3 days.
I'm having a really off day if anybody else can't tell. So
I mean,
It's
he
literally
was sitting back. He was sitting backstage when we had to start the intro again at the beginning.
Yeah, I feel for you, brother. It's okay. We still love you. You're still, but seriously, you don't know who was it? Rey Mysterio. You don't know who that was.
yeah, no.
Do you live under that rock wall?
Yep. I'm very
Actually, he lives in a van down by the river.
And it's supposed to be on your property.
I put you across the way with the horses, so
You know how I feel
Smart
about
man.
horses. The same with cats.
well, just because you had one bad time with an equestrian girl doesn't mean that oh no, all horses are bad.
What about the cats? We haven't talked about the cat situation.
Well, fuck cats.
Anyway.
No, don't actually fuck cats. I gotta clarify for some people.
Yeah, you better be careful with that. You don't want to be held. You don't want to be held liable.
Those kittens do not look like me, all right? I told you that once. So anyway.
You better go to 23andMe and get your DNA test on that one.
Oh man.
So the first question I guess we got to ask is, what does HAM stand for?
HAM is just an acronym. It's the actual term is amateur radio, and there's probably over the past 100 and some odd years have been 400 different explanations, but kind of basically amateur radio is because you're not getting paid for it. But we do a lot of great stuff in the public service, in the public sector. For instance, Hurricane Katrina, everything went down. All lines of communication went down except for ham radio. You know, you can literally from here, I can just throw a 12-foot piece of wire out my window and I can talk around the world with no problem. You know,
I don't know if Eric knows this or anything, but I almost sat for my ham radio license because I did all the studying, did everything for it. I almost sat for it. I even went.
I did not know that.
Because in the state of Nebraska, anytime that there's severe weather, every square mile, there's a ham radio operator that's set up in their vehicle monitoring, and that's how we get our sirens to activate.
It's called the Skywarn Network.
Yep.
I'm a part of that. It's really neat.
And I know the guy. I met the guy that's developed the system that they use that still runs on Windows 95, by the way, at least the last time I talked to him, for it to be able to work, because they wanted to be honest, the real reason why is they want the most obsolete system, so that way if everything else goes to shit, 95 still runs pretty much analog. There's very little digital about it, so they're able to do a lot. Speaking of radios,
sorry about that.
No,
Somebody had a little.
That's why we're having you here.
yeah, I mean it's part of the effect, right?
Somebody had a little too much to drink, and they're not waking up. They're alive, but they just don't want to wake up. Sounds like a night at the bar. I was about to say, yeah. I mean, just leave me alone. Just put a blanket on me and tuck me in. I'll be okay.
Yeah, just tuck me in the ambulance. Just tuck me in.
When we're done here, I will send you a link. So I don't want to advertise it on here. I don't know if it'd be kosher, but there's a ham who created what's called his no nonsense study guide, and it's perfect. It's perfect for people that know what they're talking about, and it's perfect for people that have no idea. But it teaches you about ham radio and how to get the first class license is the technician license. Before anybody who's listening to this, watching this, you no longer need to know Morse code, because there are so many people are like, no, it's a Morse code requirement. You don't have to know it anymore.
That's actually part of the reason why I didn't get mine, because I was prior to them doing that. I had heard that he'd done it. I knew they were talking about getting rid of it because it's obsolete, because ham radio technology, especially old analog ham radios, like you can, especially the new digital ones, Morse code is kind of redundant at that point.
Well, I'll tell you a little secret. When the FCC said let's get rid of the ham radio, the FCC said let's get rid of the Morse code requirement. they didn't know that the true effect it had. Since eliminating the 5 words per minute, 13 words per minute, and 20 words per minute Morse code requirement, the usage of Morse code has at least easily quadrupled, because you're not being forced to learn it, but people want to use it. Because listen, without getting too technical, because it still is even over my bald head, the sunspot cycle kind of sucks right now, and you can't, you have to use they've created all these different modes and to kind of, so to speak, keep ham radio active, but also for finding new ways of passing emergency traffic in a time where, your cell phone obviously works better. But, there was actually a time, I got licensed in December 24th, 1989. My first ham license was issued to me. And 2 days later, I sat in, now hams call their radio rooms, they call them shacks. I sat in my shack with my dad, Mark, who is unfortunately in the ham radio world a silent key, or is deceased. I sat there with 50 watts, which is still a lot of power. And we just literally had a 24.5-foot wire 30 feet up in our backyard. And I was talking to Japan, Russia, like they were literally sitting right next to me. And that's the people think it's an obsolete technology. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I can pick up my cell phone here. I can call somebody. I can video chat somebody. There's even apps, we call it Echo Link, that I can talk on a repeater, or I can talk to hams throughout the world. But what they don't realize is that, what does this require? Cell towers, internet. You lose that, you got to go back. But you have people that constantly keep up with the old, so to speak, technology, because they know that stuff can and will crap out on you.
Well,
it happens constantly.
Yeah, there was a big issue back home when I think I was in high school. This is actually kind of what made me kind of find it interesting, at least, was all the phone lines, the main junction got disconnected, and there was nobody. And they had ham radio guys sitting in their personal vehicles with their little dome light slapped on their roof, and they were sitting on every single major intersection corner. So if you had an emergency, you would run down, because there's no phone service whatsoever.
If you look, you ever go to like the big scenes, and and you see these big county command vehicles, like say if you have a major shooting or a mass shooting, if you can ever get into one of those, just about every single major agency has ham radios in it, and they have people that will come, even if it's, remember back in the day when we all used to have state fairs and county fairs? Ham radio operators would be at all these things. Yeah, remember back in the day? I mean, it's 14 days to flatten the curve was 300 some odd days ago, but but it's yeah, you can go. Listen, remember the Nashville bombing that just happened recently?
Yep.
It cut the 911 lines for major areas. You know what they did? Ham radio came and saved the day. Because it even took down their communications infrastructure, because it's connected on what are called tie lines. So with I'll show you this one. This is a little, we call them handy talkies. People like to call them walkie talkies.
That's definitely fall into that category.
This one right here, it covers 5 different ham radio bands. So you think about it, I can talk, and without getting too technical, basically bands just operate like, some will work in shorter distances and some will work a little bit longer because it'll carry the wavelength. But with this radio here, I have 2 modes. I have a digital mode and I have an analog mode, or FM. And I can just turn here and in an emergency situation, if I need to contact my local police, I can come over. You know, if it's a true emergency, use my call sign and say, hey, got emergency traffic. I can just flip this thing. Oops. Come on. It's making me look stupid right now. It's making me look stupid right now. All right, I'm doing something wrong. But I can just turn it, and I can literally just go on what we call a talk group. I can key it up, say, you know, this is N2KOJ. Is anybody around? And we'll just say Great Britain. And yeah, you can probably get 10, 20 guys, no problem. You know, it's the technology, and it just uses. So how many of you guys have ever seen Raspberry Pis?
Oh, yeah.
Little tiny computer, okay?
Mhm.
It's say about the size of my cigarette box. Sorry, we'll block that so we don't
Hashtag
get
not sponsored.
demonetized. The Raspberry Pi is about that big.
I have one.
Antenna on it. Yeah, and I can talk around the world with it. I'm actually bringing this with me to Hawaii because there's a lot of ham activity in Hawaii. So
Well,
when
because
I'm
you're in a good spot.
yeah,
You can pick up a lot.
especially right by the ocean. It's perfect. It's what they call like it's not a true rare entity, but it's one of those states and they have all sorts of different zones and crap where people just love talking to it. You guys are familiar with Elon Musk and Starlink, right?
Mm-hmm.
Ham radio operators have easily 30 or 40 satellites in orbit that with just this radio right here, as long as I know the position of it, I can talk through that satellite. I don't need 1,000 watts, don't need some gigantic, huge antenna, and I can talk to a guy around the world just from a satellite. It's all the and we use that just in case the crap hits the fan. You know, as long as you have ham radio, you could always have it. You guys get ice storms where you're from originally, right? Isn't that a huge thing that happens out there? Maybe tornadoes.
Yeah.
You know, you watch it just take out 25 telephone poles. Well, people don't seem to think. They think, oh, there's only power on there. No, you take down that telephone line, but you throw a ham radio operator at a police dispatch center. I've done Hurricane Sandy. We had Superstorm Sandy come through here, and I don't mean to sound like an ass, but I used to laugh when I would drive by the gas stations and see 35 people in there. All I would do is come up on my local repeater, say, hey, anybody got information on a gas station within 30 miles? Oh, yeah, go here, such and such is here. You know, no wait. It's some little things that we do.
Yeah, no, and I think it's great about how, you know, everyone is like, it's like it's like another family, you know?
It is, absolutely.
And I mean, I know I used to listen to it all the time. Between ham and then CB guys, you know, because my grandpa used to have a CB in his truck all the time, and just listening to how those guys interact, you can figure out anything happening in the world if you not even trying that hard.
Absolutely, because it's amazing. You know, most for CB radio is just like a couple shy from one of our ham radio bands. Now, people used to sit there 10 plus years ago. You can sit there on a CB in Nebraska, and you could talk to California, Florida, New York, Maine, Canada with no problem.
Yeah,
because of the sunspots.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, you put on channel 19 on a CB, you're on a highway, and there's a couple separate frequencies, what we call simplex national calling frequencies. If you're a ham, you can get traffic, you can get information. Years ago, back when New York City used to have what's called metro traffic, they relied on ham radio operators because we'd hold traffic nets on a repeater. And that's before, you know, the cell phone and the Waze and the Garmin's and stuff. And we used to report, hey, sitting on Route 80 here in beautiful Rockaway, which is a couple towns over, and I haven't moved in 20 minutes. And Metro Traffic would be reporting it. And 3 minutes later, you're hearing over the radio station. That's where it all first started. You know, ham radio operator and CBers, you know, yeah, CBers, you can curse and all that stuff. you can technically curse on a ham radio, but they kind of frown upon it. It's basically you can say anything on a ham radio that the FCC would allow to be shown on TV at 8 o'clock at night. I think it's like you can say dick and asshole or something like that, and you can actually, listen. The FCC is busier trying to ban. I won't get into it. It's not what we're here for.
I mean,
but
I really
you know what I mean.
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying. Speaking of hearing things, I think we actually need to move our way into a quick sponsor break, and we'll be right back with more ham talk on the Two Dogs Howling Under One Moon podcast. And here is going to be a fantastic word from our sponsor.
Hey, Howlers, you've heard us talking about it before. We're here to talk about it again because we love working with Alarm Red Media.
Yeah.
All right? So what we need you to do is we want you to go to Alarm Red Media's website. On there, you can subscribe to the Patreon for Alarm Red Media, which will get you unreleased content or exclusive content, I should say, that we've created, the Two Dogs have created, Ron Ripley's created, Mike Venn has created, and many more people that we are working to add to the Alarm Red Media network of
Podcast
collaborators,
content.
Creators. So check out alarmredmedia.com. Also, like and subscribe to their Facebook page and YouTube channel. We will continue you'll see our stuff there too. Also, the best part is everyone likes t-shirts. We're working on getting us some t-shirts. We had some formal business meetings the day of the recording for this. So we had to get a little more dressed up for you guys. But we're going to have some awesome merch. If it's not in there now, it will be soon. We'll be releasing stuff periodically. Go check out that merch.
Yep. Just go to alarmredmedia.com and navigate yourself through the tabs. If you want to support us, just click on the support tab. And if you want to check out our merch, just click on the merch tab. It'll take you right to where you need to be. And it's going to be great. We can't wait to keep working with Alarm Red, and make sure that you guys follow them, as we will be possibly also doing live stuff with them and going live on their platforms, not just ours. So if you love our content, make sure that you go to there, because you'll love their content as well.
We're back to hear more from our friend Eric about ham radio. So Eric, I got a question for you. What do you have to do to maintain your ham radio license?
You have to renew it every 10 years.
I forgot about that. Yeah.
Yep. It requires a renewal. You get a grace period, but right now the FCC is charging $50 for every 10-year renewal, which is blowing the minds of people left and right, because why? It's not like they're going to use that money for what we call spectrum enforcement or giving us more allocations. But in most areas, to take the test, it's $15, and that's the testing fee. They don't make any money off, but that's for filing. So it's every 10 years, and it's all simple. You don't have to. You just go to the FCC website, and if you have your active license and you change your address, boom, it automatically changes your address, and it extends you for another 10 years. It's really simple. I mean, it's actually simpler than, I don't know,
maintaining a CPR card.
Exactly, because you don't have to take classes. You don't have to retake a test. The only time, once you get your ham license, your first one, your initial one, it's a technician license. You can stay right there. You get some HF privileges. You get to talk, around the world. You get all the VHFs and UHS, which most people use it for. But if you want to get further and have access to more spectrum, they call it, then you get your general. Or then if you get the top one, that's extra. People tell you to go to extra because, like, for instance, say you had a friend over in Australia, let's just say, and they have a ham license.
That's crazy, because we have listeners in the land down under.
Well, see, what I need to do is if I want to really communicate with our listeners and our friends down under, I have to get a higher license at times because they're only allowed to operate on certain frequencies. And the only way I can operate on those frequencies is if I have a higher class license. So it's something you want to get, and seriously, in ham radio, it's just like everything else. You're always learning new stuff, new technology, new modes, new ideas come out. We've got guys and girls, sorry about that, that do what are called de-expeditions. Now, in the world, there are 320, maybe 340 separate what are called entities. Okay, like the United States is an entity. Technically, Alaska and Hawaii are considered one. But they go to these remote, and I mean remote islands that takes them 7, 8, 9 days on a boat, and they offload these shelters and generators and this and that, and they'll work 200, 300, 400,000 what we call QSOs or conversations in a matter of a week. Because people, we do what's called paper chasing or award chasing. That's the other fun thing.
Yeah, what's your postcard look like?
I knew you were going to ask that, and I forgot to pull one out. Mine's very simple. I just got a simple one with my call sign on it, my name and address, pertinent information like my grid square. Now, for you military guys, you're used to 10-digit grid squares. We don't use 10 digits. We use 4 digits. So my grid square is Fox November 20. I'm sure there's some Army guys out there going, "Hoorah! I can tell you what your 10-digit grid square is, and I can drop a bomb on it." Hoorah! Sorry, but we chase. Now, I have worked 295 countries or entities since I've been licensed at the age 12. I've worked them on all different bands, all different times of the year. I've worked what we would call some of the absolute hardest de-expeditions to work because you really have to rely on science, atmosphere. You got to pay attention to so much stuff. And a lot of it's also luck. I mean, I had a 100-watt radio with a 52-foot piece of wire, and I talked to a guy in I'm going to mess this up. It is, I have to look it up. I brain farted. It was just on the tip of my head, but it was is on an island that it is considered a federal wildlife habitat, and they only allow people to come there every 10 years. And it's scientists, and then a lot of times they'll let ham radio operators. But what these ham radio operators are also doing is they're also taking half of their time there, talk on the radio, and the other half is they're helping out the Federal Wildlife Foundation or whatever federal government agency it is that sits there and tracks loony birds or whatever in some of these places. And they're helping us out, but they're also helping out the U.S. government. You got places that can't get what are called activated for 25 years because there's a rare species of bird that lives on this island, and they only go and count them every 25 years, and you have to pay a lot of money and beg, and hams will donate a lot of money, and they'll send buttloads of equipment and antennas, and it's really neat when you see one of these entities. And and now with 2020, we're in this high-speed satellite. You got guys that'll do live streams from these remote locations, and you'll have these hams. They'll be sitting there in a little box, a little desk, in Morse code, or they're keying up, or they're talking, and they're just you're listening to it, and you're like, man, he just worked a guy in California. Oh, he just worked a guy in Hong Kong. Oh, he just worked a guy in Peru. All like that. It's plus in those situations, they're able to pass what we call health and welfare traffic. So if you, in some of these islands, their only communications are ham radio. Happens all the time. And you've got a guy a friend of mine in New Jersey who had this 300-foot tower with gigantic antennas. And as a volunteer, he would, every other night at a certain time, he would point his antennas and he would pull traffic, and he would send audio messages from loved ones to these workers that were on this far island. And it's where cell phones don't work, or satellites don't cover the entire earth, so you rely on ham radio. It is probably, honestly, one of the coolest things I've ever done in my life, getting my license and all the places I've talked to, the friends I've made. That you were asking for the postcards. We call them QSL cards. Just QSL is like a 10 code, and it's we use for received or understood. Like if you said, "Hey Brutus, did you kiss Cletus on the butthole last night?" You would say QSL. I did.
Maybe that's the issue today.
That's probably the issue. But and people collect these.
Mhm.
I mean, they're amazing. I mean, I've got cards from all over. I since I'm in a temporarily living room, or temporarily assigned here, I'd have to find my old shack pictures, because I had a whole bunch of them up on the wall. And I mean, they're some of the most important ones for people on the East Coast where I'm at. There's a place up in Newington, Connecticut. We call it the home of ham radio, basically. It's a place called the American Radio Relay League. And they've got huge towers and gigantic antennas, and they can push out 2,000 watts. And you can hear their signal all around the world. And people, and people pre-COVID, thanks COVID, because, COVID. Sorry, what the hell's going on here? Sorry. My everything starts to just be booping here. You used to be able to go, and it was a call sign of W1AW. Any ham radio operator in the world knows who W1AW is.
Mm-hmm.
And they know, that's the headquarters. That's somebody I want to talk to, because they got a really cool card. And if you're in, let's say, South America or Bosnia or Iraq or Kuwait, and you can work them, that's a cool thing. People from other countries absolutely love talking to the States, and vice versa. We can talk to North Korea when their supreme leader allows us to, because he is the one that issues the ham license. And we actually have a de-expedition. We'll be going to, what do you call that place? Pootie Tang?
I mean, I'm pretty sure you're close. Yeah, that's pretty close.
Yeah, pretty close to it. And they're going to be going there to activate North Korea, because they're a whatever government they are, they don't allow Joe Schmuckatelli to have ham radio. It used to be like that in Cuba and Russia. But man, dude, any night, if you could sit there, you listen, there's web SDRs that are for ham radio. You can just listen to those web SDRs, and they're in the States and they're overseas. It's amazing. You'll hear, for the longest time, you never heard Cuba on the radio. And they finally one day said, "Hey, let's let our citizens get their ham licenses." And you're talking to Cuba like there's no tomorrow. You're talking to Russia and Japan and China and Hong Kong, and my favorite has always been like the Australians, because they make me laugh. And they're funny, and it's just, that's like my thing. I always like talking to Australia, because if I can talk to Australia at 3:00 in the morning with a piece of wire, that's pretty freaking cool.
I know that is pretty cool when you really think about how technologically advanced we've all become in the world that we're in. But
exactly.
You're able to just hook up a piece of, pretty much, lack of a better term, you have a can and a string, and they have a can. That's literally pretty much what's going on.
That's exactly what it is, because I can sit there. I have a radio in my car. Well, when my car was working, I had a radio in my car that with just it's like a stick. If looked like a CB antenna, and I could walk around the world with it.
Yeah.
It's
I know.
just amazing.
I know I know it's a big thing too, especially if you're like doing a big cross country trip and you're a ham radio operator is every time you cross the line, like, because I know the portion that I'm part of, they're 0. That's their they're
zero
in
call area. Yep.
Yeah, at the N0 call area, and you know, if you get somebody driving through that's like an N6 or something, which I'm going very technical, and I know a lot of people aren't going to know what I'm talking about, but you know, it's like cool because everyone will be like, oh yeah, safe travels. Let us know if you need anything. You know, where you going, where you heading, type of thing. You know, like
I'm an N2, so if like when I go to Hawaii, I'll
Mhm.
be November 2 Kilo Oscar Juliet, portable Kilo Hotel 6, because that's their call area. If I'm in California, when I land in California for the day, I'll be November 2 Kilo Oscar Juliet, portable 6. So that way people know, hey, I don't live in the state, but hey, I'm here visiting. It's not required to do, but we all do it because it's the gentlemanly. They call it like a gentleman's agreement. It's the right thing to do.
Your number stays with you even if you move outside of that region, correct?
Yes, about 15 years ago, you were required, if you moved to like Massachusetts or anywhere else out of your call area, you were required to change your license. And they decided, listen, you can keep it wherever you go, especially now because, 15, 20 years ago, you had these gigantic phone books we called the call books. And if you looked up N2KOJ in the call book, yeah, it would show me in where I was at. But now, if you look up N2KOJ on the internet, I could easily be in California. They allowed it with the evolution of how the internet is, and just about every ham radio operator is connected to the internet because we utilize stuff like the world clock. Some of our communications modes require millisecond up to the millisecond timing for proper transmissions, and people were connected to the internet, so they're like, yeah, N2KOJ. If I move to California, I'm not required to change my call sign. I could if I want to, but I don't need to.
Okay.
And it's a nice thing that they did.
Do you so when you guys are talking to the different countries, is it all like one language, or is there can be a language barrier at times?
It is, it is it's, so to speak, not official, but English is kind of the official language of ham radio. And that being because they say most hams live in the United States, and it's just easier. They say, I have heard people say that English is the easiest language to learn, and talking to guys over throughout the world, and some say it's the hardest to learn, but apparently from what the consensus is, English is the easiest. Now, doesn't mean that we do these things called contests. Okay, we take a 24-hour time period, 48-hour time period, and we try to see how many people we can contact. And when we do these, what are called DX contests, DX for distance, that's, you'll get operators that can just repeat your call sign and give you a signal report and a number, and that's it. So, like if it's UA2 Quebec copy N2KOJ, he'll come back N2KOJ Qsl 59102, and that's it. That's all that person can do in English. That's all they teach him to do. So it's generally the language is general English. Now, if you're an American, by FCC rules, you're required to speak English. And if you're talking to another country, you can, say if you're talking to Italy, you can talk to them in Italian, but you're required to identify your call sign in English. It's just like everything. You have stupid rules for everything.
Well, there's always has to be stupid rules, especially when there's a government agency involved.
Exactly. Stupid rules run by stupid people.
I will tell you the hardest language to probably learn is either Chinese or Russian. Just throwing that out there.
I don't know, man. I heard Russian's like simple. I mean, I hear you have to be.
That's funny.
That's
funny.
really funny. You're funny.
I want you to know he's learning Russian.
I love you.
Now.
No, I know. That's why I said it, because I was being a smart.
And then
ass.
I actually also did Russian for a little while. So it's we're a very romantic language, whereas Russian is a Slavic language. So it's like trying to reteach yourself. And then, Russia, they write everything in cursive. And most of the old Soviet teachers that teach here, or people that were taught by old Soviet teachers, all tend to try and teach you in a way that's the literary way instead of the functional way.
Yep.
Which,
well, do you know who taught me Russian?
Ham radio?
That's how I learned Russian.
I don't even know if I can speak what he says in his jokes as much as I'd love to.
I am the machine. That's all you need to know.
Exactly.
Sorry. That's my boy. I love him.
It's all good. The other question we had is, we know you were in the Navy in and around 9/11, so you want to expand upon your 9/11 story, and if it involves ham radio, all the better. But I feel like that's a fun story to hear from somebody who's.
So officially, I was discharged from the Navy June 21st, 2001, and at that time, I was in Virginia Beach, Virginia, when the towers were struck in New York City. So my job at the time was being a civilian. I was doing nothing. But the guy I was living with was a firefighter. He was with the task force, the Virginia Rescue Task Force. Plus, we were both very active ham radio operators. So about 3 hours into 9/11, he came home, packed his stuff. He says, "Listen, we're going to get the radios out. We're going to start setting up. We're going to do some monitoring." And what we did was we passed. If I could find my notebooks, I can't count. We passed what we call so much health and welfare traffic because the cell phones were dead.
Yeah, because most people don't realize that on top of those buildings were most of the communication for most of the Long Island area. Most people don't realize that.
On the Twin Towers, we had 5 ham radio repeaters. Now, during good atmospheric conditions, when I was in Virginia Beach, I could hit the repeater. It was called a VHF repeater on World Trade 1. So for people who want to know what VHF is, if you've ever ridden in a boat and you've got your radio at channel 16, that's considered VHF. That is not normally a more than 10-mile distance. But because of the elevation of the World Trade Center and because of great engineers, they had some of the greatest radio equipment up there, whether you were doing broadcast television or ham radio. But with actually, I think it was this portable right here, because I've had it for that long. I used to talk on the World Trade Center from Virginia Beach, just with this. This is 5 watts.
Yeah, it's
with
nothing.
just this antenna. It's ham radio played a huge part in in the simplest little things. Like on 9/11, we were passing traffic through Mars stations, which were the military amateur radio, military auxiliary radio service. Crikey. It's been so long since I've been involved
Is it
with
pretty
them.
much like the Civil Air Patrol, but for radios?
Yes, exactly. And we're authorized to talk on ham frequencies, and we are authorized to talk on certain frequencies that we share with the military, the federal government, in a time of a crisis. And these frequencies for weeks, probably months, were just jam packed because you had guys and girls knowing, hey, listen, I know I had family up there. I know I had family at the Pentagon. This is their name. This is their rank. This is where they work. This was their phone number at the time. This is and we just want to know, hey, can you pass this traffic to the Red Cross? And the Red Cross had this huge command center where they wrote all this stuff down. And, I didn't have to pass any radio traffic to my dad, but my dad knew where to. All he had to do is get on his local repeater, said he had to pass pass a traffic message to my son in Virginia, and they knew. You know, they would pass it. It would go to the Red Cross sometimes. Sometimes it would go to other traffic nets, and they knew, okay, because what we would do is a lot of times we would check in. We'd say, hey, I'm available. I can take traffic for what part of Virginia was I in? Whatever Virginia Beach area, whatever part it is. I can take it for Virginia, Chesapeake, Portsmouth, part, you know, into North Carolina because I have access to repeaters in all those areas. And plus, we had phone lines, so you had people from New York City passing messages to us, and what we were doing was we were calling their relatives in Virginia, North Carolina, because they couldn't get through because the old Twisted Pairs were all down. So ham radio, it's very antiquated, but I tell you, man, there's nothing like analog. It works fantastically. It really does.
You know, speaking of old people reminding us about technology, I think it's about time to hear from Papa Brutus.
Yeah, I agree.
Oh, absolutely.
So here's a word from the good old Papa Brutus. The video portion of this episode is brought to you by our great people at StreamYard. Go hit the link in the description below and check out StreamYard using our link. Thank you, StreamYard, for sponsoring the video portion of this episode.
Check us out.
And we're back with our amazing and fantastic and ever so balding Eric Budinger.
Bald is beautiful, baby.
But yeah, so I mean, that was a great, you know, story, and it really, I'm pretty sure will resonate with our listeners, you know, because we do talk about security, you know, that's what we talk about. The importance of, you know, when critical infrastructure goes down, what other critical infrastructure steps up and pulls that weight? And it seems like if there's anything, like
we've learned so far today.
Yeah, if we've learned anything, when in doubt, ham radio it out.
That's a really good way to say it, because it's the God's honest truth. If you guys know Vietnam veterans, if you know any of them, they probably talked to their spouses and stuff through ham radio, because we would do phone patches. That was a big thing. That was a huge thing. It was, you know, because you can't sit, you don't have. You're in Vietnam. You're not on the cell phone. You went over to the ham radio.
They don't have sat phones in that point, you know.
Yeah, and it's always there. It's if you're in a jam, find a ham.
Oh fuck, that's another
Hold
one.
on, I got trademarked that one. Damn.
That's a good one. That one. As long as we can figure this out, we might put that one on a fucking shirt.
Ooh. I like shirts, especially shirts with my name on it. There's going to be a lot of me walking around Hawaii in a couple weeks.
Yeah, I know. You know, it's kind of funny when you really think about it. You never know how many kids you have walking around, but now they all have your name on their back, so now you'll know.
I'm just gonna like ignore that one. Hold on, I'm gonna just take another drag on the cigarette from now on. I don't want to touch that one.
All right, while you're taking your drag on your cigarette, speaking of smoking, I know there's a story you've shared once before. We're aware of, and I know I initially didn't want to bring it up, but you said yesterday when we chatted, go ahead, ask me anything, and you clarified that this was totally still on the table. So
yes,
just because it's still funny.
My taint is wide open for you.
Yep.
So I'll give you the abbreviated version.
Okay.
So spent 1997 to 2001 in the United States Navy as a damage controlman, a firefighter. That was my main job. It's okay to say my ship because I love my ship.
Yeah, absolutely.
I served on board the USS Kearsarge LHD number 3. We were based out of Norfolk, Virginia, and we were underway doing probably just exercises, I think. I don't know what we were doing. And so on our ship, we have a well deck, so that's LCACs, and we have a flight deck, so it had the Harriers and the Choppers and the Hueys and the Cobras, and, you know. So During these evolutions, especially when they're transferring fuel, the smoking lamp is not lit. So me and a buddy of mine, we were in our shop, which is kind of at the back of the ship, down a couple decks. We're like, screw it, we're firemen. What's the worst that can happen? So we're sitting there, we're smoking and coking because we're.
Hey, don't smoke cake. Those are not Frosted Flakes. Okay, so
no, but apparently we weren't. I don't think we were white enough back then either because we were coking. I don't know. If you guys have seen that bull crap lately, but sorry. I love Coca-Cola, but had to bash on them. I apologize. So sitting there, and our dogs are so this is for you guys. Our doors have dogs on them. That's what keeps them closed and watertight. So I hear them start to open, and I'm sitting on a trash can, because I'm an idiot. I was 19, 20 at the time, maybe a little younger, and where I'm sitting on a trash can, right across from me is a deep sink. I took my cigarette that was probably about still 3/4, and I threw it in the trash can that had papers and all sorts of other stuff in it, and I sat on the trash can. So, mind you, I was only wearing coveralls and skivvies. And I'm sitting there, we're talking, and, we're getting chewed out by this higher rank. That's just what they like to do.
It's their favorite pastime.
Yes. And I started to get I started getting hot. It's like a burning sensation. I'm sitting there, I'm going, no, haven't been any port calls, so it's not that. And finally, the whatever leaves, and I'm on fire. My taint was literally burning. My ass was burning. My coveralls burnt the ass out. So literally my whole ass, my underwear burnt. It burnt off all the hair on my ass, burnt off all the hair on my taint, burnt off most of the hair on my sack. I had a good 2nd-degree burn on my taint. That's probably the stupidest thing I've ever done. Never reported it officially because I was too embarrassed. Thankfully, I had some good friends up in medical. I went up. It took me a while because I had to go to my ship, go back to my berthing. I had to hide the evidence. I tried to kind of put some cold water under my ass and my taint. That didn't cool it down enough. So I go up to medical, and one of the female corpsmen I was good friends with, I said, listen, I kind of I need to talk to you. I need some help. And she's like, well, you got to go on record. I'm like, no. Just trust me when you see this shit. Come here. So we go in, and I drop trowel, and she's just speechless. Literally, you could hear a pin drop in that room. I turn back. She's mouth wide open. She's like, how? And I said, do I really got to tell you? She's like, oh, fuck yeah, you do, brother. So she's like, wait, she's like, hold that thought. Just hold that position. She stepped out of the room, and I'm like, oh, Christ, here it comes. So here I am, I'm still bent over, ass in the air, it probably was still smoking at the time too. And in comes 3 other docs. Corpsmen, we call them docs. They're all laughing. That's it. They're done. They cannot hold it in. They couldn't be professional. I didn't blame them. So I had a 2nd-degree burn on my taint. It hurt for a good 2-3 weeks easily. I was so afraid to crap. I was eating MREs 4 or 5 a day. I don't think I shit for a good week. And I think when I did, I thought I was going to die. I was just so bound up and so backed up. And I was just, it started coming. And I was just like, oh, fuck, this hurts. Oh, this is going to hurt. I thought I was going to scream. And I think I did, but I think I used one of the heads in a faraway area that if anybody heard me scream, they wouldn't hear me. So yeah, I am the idiot firefighter, damage controlman, who burnt his taint, which is I think probably why you guys and my friends want to fly me to Hawaii, because I think I've done enough stupid shit in my life, and
yeah,
I
we need to make up for some of that stupid shit. Yeah.
It's also for good mental health reasons.
Yeah, good mental health. Get
There are
everyone
pictures
together.
somewhere. There are pictures there. I know I didn't take any, but I know the doc. I know she did because she was sadistic like that. I've never been able to see them, and I'm kind
I
of
don't think
afraid
you
to
want
reach
to.
out to her. I don't think so either, but I'm kind of curious. There is a scar. You can feel it. You know, I think every guy plays with their taint once in a while and sees it. There are some little areas that still have not grown back. This is news I'm sharing with you guys that I did not share previously. But yes, some of the hair still is burnt off and has not come back.
Man, you might have gotten close to almost third-degree burns at some parts. Then, like,
I think if I was sitting a couple minutes longer and I didn't douse my butthole with water, yeah, I think I would have definitely seen the third degree. You know, and anybody listening, no, I have not. It is not in my official medical record. There was no way in hell. I'm sure I probably would have gotten like this is my pun, a 2% disability. You get it, but I'm bumped from the VA. But I did not want my taint on the wall of the VA because that could have definitely been.
Hey, Doc, have you ever seen a guy with a burnt taint? Yeah, he's coming in later. You want to see it?
I would have definitely been the cause of a safety stand down. I would have definitely been front and center of a safety stand down or 10. Yes.
Yeah.
That was probably one of the dumbest things I ever. I definitely think that's probably one of the dumbest things I ever did because.
So in my creative retreat this weekend, I wrote a good joke pertaining to this very subject. I think I was thinking about you because we knew we were going to have you on this week. So it goes a little something like this for stand-up purposes. Anybody got a hairy asshole? You want to just food for thought. Have you considered shaving it to make your poop slide out a lot easier? Just a little advice. Lotion's the key to your success.
Very, very true, my friend.
So, you know what? On that shitty situation, but things that you can, laugh at. I think we're going to be wrapping up this episode.
I know you were burning to ask me that question.
We were burning.
Okay.
We were. So if everyone in the audience could give a big round of applause for the ever so questionable Eric Budinger.
The King of Jersey. I love you guys. Thank you very much.
And hopefully get some fun stories out of you later after Hawaii. So it's been fantastic. Thank you, Eric, for hanging out with us.
Thank you for having me, guys. I really appreciate it. Love you guys. Love everybody. Thank you. Hey, listen, if you want to know more about ham radio, just look me up on Google. Come find me, and love to get you guys licensed and get to have some fun.
Awesome.
Thank you again. We love you too.
Love you too. And as our techies in the background, I think it is time for us to say that I am Cletus, and that guy over there who is not hooked up to his mic right now is our techie.
And I'm Brutus, and we'll see you guys on the flippity flip.
Catch you guys later.